Hi there, this is Jama Malmy. Thanks for visiting today. I'm sharing this bright and cheery rainbow card with you today. And it was one of those cards that I had sort of an idea in my head and it didn't turn out as I intended. And, but I still like the result. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to share it because at first I didn't like it, but it's grown on me. So what I did was I combined some Cricut cuts with some die cuts. And those rainbow circles I cut on the Cricut just using the circle and slice feature. And I'll share that file with you, the Design Space file, over on my blog if you're interested. And I decided to cut them as rings because I thought I could get 2 rainbows out of it, but then I realized I really could only get one because it would take up more than half of the circle. But that's okay because they're really easy to cut. And then the sun is cut from one of the Close to My Heart Cricut cartridges. Now I use Close to My Heart cardstock here. That's my favorite cardstock for cutting on the Cricut. It cuts through it like butter. It's a really nice heavy cardstock, but I think one of the keys to using it on the Cricut is that it is a white core cardstock, so it's not dyed all the way through, and I think the Cricut likes that. It cuts through it really nicely. So I use really bright rainbow colors: candy apple, nectarine, lemon, willow, and bluebird. And then the clouds are cut with the decorative border thin cuts, and you can see part of those over on the right side of the screen, but I used that one at the top that looks like clouds. And I cut it several times in white daisy cardstock, and it's got that nice stitched edge to give it that finished look. And I'm cutting some of them apart to just stick little pieces here and there sticking up, and so it looks nice and layered that way. And then that sun is a Close to My Heart Cricut cut. I forget which cartridge it's from at the moment, but I will link it below after I look it up. Those post-it notes that I put at the top were originally there because I thought I was going to be inking the card base, but I ended up not doing that. But I am cutting around. I just used a circle underneath that sun, and so I just cut underneath it so that it wouldn't stick out, and then cut a little bit of the sun off so that it was easier to stick underneath the rainbow there. And then I used this glue pen to stick the rays down, and that worked really nicely. I really love that glue pen. If you don't have one already, it makes it so handy to glue down little parts, detailed parts. So then I'm using my Misty to stamp the sentiment because I tried this on a couple of cards prior and I kept messing it up. I don't know what the deal was, but it kept smearing, and so I decided to leave it to the Misty so that it wouldn't do that. I like to use archival black ink. I feel like it's a really dark, intense ink, and I think sometimes it takes a little bit longer to dry than your typical dye inks, and so I think that's why I was having a problem. But this sentiment is from the January stamp of the month, and I thought it was perfect to go with the rainbow. It is one long stamp, and I cut it so that I could put it on 2 lines, and I was just showing you I also did that with a different stamp. So don't be afraid to cut your stamps in half if you want to make them 2 lines. And by the way, that stamp set is only $5 in January when you make a $50 purchase on my website, and that one is going to come in super duper handy for any sentiments you need in the future for cards. Now this stamp is kind of like a splatter, like a paint splatter from a retired stamp set, but there's lots of stamp sets available that have this little splatter, and I will link to some below as well. And this is where I started not being sure how I liked this. I just ended up with way more splatters than I had intended, but it's grown on me, so I like it. Now, tangerine actually is the color that I used here, I forgot, for the rainbow, and that is retired, but I was just showing you tangerine versus nectarine. Nectarine is the new color. They are very similar. So if whichever one you have will look great in a card like this or in a rainbow. And so I'm just going through and using all of the different colors that I used in the rainbow and adding them to this card in just various spots. So here's what the finished product looks like, bright and cheery. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe so you will see more from me. And if you are interested in any of the products I used, I have them linked below. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that you have a great day.